Mr. President, I think all across this country, people are wondering about what's going on in Congress, specifically what's going on in the Senate. And people are using the expression that government is broken, that we seem to be a dysfunctional institution. And the reason for the alarm is pretty obvious. The United States today faces the most serious set of crises that we have faced since the Great Depression. Today, some 17% of our people are either unemployed or underemployed, and this is on top of coming out of a decade where median family income actually declined. So people by the millions are today working longer hours for lower wages. They're wondering what kind of life is going to be available for their kids. They're having a hard time affording childcare. They're having a hard time affording higher education. We have 46 million people who are uninsured. We have 45,000 people who die every single year because they can't get to a doctor. If we don't get a handle on health care, the costs are going to be doubling in the next 8 years. We recently saw Blue Cross in California asking for a 39% rate increase for their premiums out there. Not unusual. This is going on all over the country. And people are saying, what is going on? Is the middle class going to continue to collapse? Poverty going to continue to increase? Or are you guys going to get your act together and begin to do something that benefits working families in this country? It goes without saying that the American people want, I want, you want, we all want bipartisan efforts to solve these problems. But most importantly, we want to solve these issues. You got to deal with the economy. You got to deal with our friends on Wall Street whose recklessness and illegal behavior has driven this country into the terrible recession that we're in. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with health care. You don't have a choice. We got to deal with the $12 trillion national debt. You got to do it. And unfortunately, I think what the American people are beginning to catch on, that to do bipartisanship, you need a buy. You need two sides coming together. And what we have here in the Senate are not two sides coming together, but one side, our Republican friends, who are saying, no, no, no. If it's good for Obama, it's bad for us. No, no, no. Record-breaking number of filibusters. Record-breaking number of other obstructionist tactics. And the end result is the American people are becoming very, very frustrated. I do a radio show, a national radio show, every week. And every week on that program, somebody is calling me up and saying, I don't understand it. When the Republicans were in control of the Senate, they were able to bring forth sweeping proposals. They didn't have 60 votes. What's going on? You guys, on your side, I'm an independent in the Democratic caucus, you got 59 votes. Why aren't you doing it? It's a good question. So I think more and more people are now talking about using the reconciliation process, which is simply a parliamentary procedure which enables us to pass legislation with the end result of saving taxpayers money and lowering the deficit. The beauty of that approach is you can go forward with 51 votes, not the 60 votes that we are having a very difficult time obtaining, because we're not getting much support from the other side. Now, some people say, well, this reconciliation approach, this is unfair, this is a radical idea, why are you bringing it forth? Well, the answer is, this has been done time after time and after time, mostly, in fact, by Republicans. So it seems to me if this is a concept that the Republicans have used year after year after year for very major pieces of legislation, I think it is appropriate for the Democratic caucus to do that as well. Let me give just a few examples. Many Americans will remember the contract with America. That was Newt Gingrich's very big idea. I thought it was a very bad idea, but nonetheless, it was a very comprehensive approach. The contract with America in 1995 was passed in the U.S. Senate through reconciliation. And this was such a broad, comprehensive bill. This is what President Clinton said. This is what the Washington Post reported President Clinton saying when he vetoed that legislation. I'm glad he did. This is what Clinton said, quote, "Today I am vetoing the biggest Medicare and Medicaid cuts in history, deep cuts in education, a rollback in environmental protection, and a tax increase on working families," end of quote. This was Clinton's veto message of the Republican contract with America that was passed through reconciliation. Mr. President, that is not the only effort that the Republicans mounted through reconciliation. In 1996, Republicans passed legislation to enact welfare reform through reconciliation. In 1997, Congress used reconciliation to establish new health coverage programs or to substantially expand existing ones, including the S-CHIP program, passed through reconciliation. In 2005, Republicans pushed through reconciliation legislation that reduced spending on Medicaid and raised premiums on upper-income Medicare beneficiaries. In 2003, Republicans used reconciliation to push through President Bush's 2003 tax cuts using reconciliation. In 2001, Republicans used reconciliation to pass President Bush's $1.35 trillion tax cut, much of it going to the wealthiest people in this country. What is my point? My point is that it would be the utmost hypocrisy for Republicans to tell us that we should not use reconciliation when they have used it time and time and time again. So let me just conclude by saying this. This country faces enormous problems. What has occurred over the last year and a half is an unprecedented level of obstructionism and delaying tactics on the part of our Republican colleagues. The American people are hurting. They want to see this government begin the process of creating millions of decent-paying jobs. They want to see a transformation of our energy system so that we can move from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy and create jobs doing that. The American people want to see us rebuild our infrastructure, which is presently crumbling, and we can create jobs doing that. In the short term, the American people want us to do something about the high cost of college education by greatly expanding Pell Grants and by also addressing the very serious problems with child care and the needs for school construction. We can do that as well. So my point is that the American people are angry, they're frustrated, they want action. And if the Republicans choose, as is their right, to try to obstruct, to try to use the rules to delay action, I think we should do what they have done time after time after time, and that is use the reconciliation process. That is what I think we should do, and I hope that we will. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.